So, I have played multiple hours of Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii with thanks to RGG, Sega and HelloGuillotine, who put on this wonderful content creator event that was invite only in London on the actual day that I got back from GDQ. This was a fantastic event set on an actual authentic pirate ship, the Golden Hind, which is over in London at London Bridge, where we got to spend a couple of hours with the game itself. I do have to do the influencer thing of just obviously be transparent up front, and even though it wasn't a paid for trip, they did cater us fully with food, an open bar, and obviously multiple hours with the game, as well as some cool little goodies as well. I've got myself a nice little RGG backpack that I'll definitely be taking to future events. But obviously I've played a couple of hours of Pirate Yakuza, and you're probably wondering what my thoughts are on the game. So one thing to say before getting into obviously talking about the game and the footage itself is that we were told a little bit before the event that we were actually allowed to capture footage ourselves. Unfortunately, because I was still in America at the time, I wasn't able to go back and get a capture card so that I could get myself footage. However, RGG and Sega have been kind enough to provide some B-roll footage, which I will be talking over with my impressions. And thankfully, a couple of the actual B-roll footage itself is very similar to the things that I did. Now, most of you know that I obviously speedrun this series, that obviously I am very interested in a lot of the mechanics stuff. I like keeping the story stuff to, a fresh playthrough on stream, so I tried to avoid most of the story stuff. I did a little bit of it, which you will see in this footage coming up. However, there were three main things that I was really curious about going into Pirate Yakuza that I really wanted to test and find out. 1. Combat. Obviously, Majima has his Mad Dog style. Let's see how that's evolved from, obviously, stuff like the Majima Saga in K2 for a different Dragon Engine reference, and obviously how different he feels from his multiple different styles in Yakuza 0. 2, the ship exploration, how it worked, how it felt to actually drive the ship itself, if it was fun, and also the ship combat. The ship combat was something that I've always been somewhat curious about, whether or not it would be pretty fun, whether it'd feel like it's just been tacked on, but thankfully, as you'll see coming up, it's actually surprisingly innovative, and the second that I picked up the controller when doing the ship stuff, it didn't feel unnatural. It you really learn to get it quite quickly, and honestly, really good fun from what I have played. I'm looking forward to seeing what the evolution of it is going to be going throughout the game. But I know that you're all here to see the actual footage of the game, so without me further waffling, I can do that while I show you a little bit of gameplay. Okay, so the hands-on playtest began here on Rich Island. You'll see as the camera pans around that Goro is there. Goro is your little tiger friend that can bring you items. And this is reasonably into Chapter 2 by the looks of things. I went into my menus at the start, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But first, what most people experienced was this guy right here. If you've seen most Yakuza games, or something like Majima Saga, you'll see that there are stronger street bosses. This guy, as you can see, is on a most wanted list. There's a couple of enemies like this. There's going to be one more you'll see a bit later on. And with this was most of our first test of combat. What you're seeing here is Sea Dog. This is the new style for Majima, alongside his more traditional style, which you're going to see in a second here, Mad Dog. So, with Sea Dog, you have cutlasses, you have pistols, you have a chain hook, which is phenomenal, by the way, and then you have Majima's usual older style of combat in Mad Dog here. What you're seeing here, the doppelgangers are your special darkness gauges. Look at the top left, you've got your usual HUD, HP heat, and then you've got that circle. That circle is your madness gauge. In Mad Dog style, it summons the doppelgangers, and the doppelgangers, as you can see, go absolutely wild. Circle is spin just like it is in Majima Saga, but as you can see, Majima in this game obviously has a much bigger range of abilities to be able to use. And as you saw there, one of the best features of Lost Judgment's combat, the ability to change your styles at any point, is obviously back. You're just seeing a nice little combination play between Mad Dog and Sea Dog. So let's get into a little bit about the actual combat itself. So I was very interested in how Sea Dog played, and I first started playing Sea Dog. Your light attacks are with your cutlasses to begin with. Your strong attacks are with the gun, or follow-up attacks to the cutlasses. You also have the change hook, which you'll see in a second here, that can actually latch onto enemies and grab them. And as you can see, yes, there are enemies as well on Rich Island. You can charge up the gun. As you can see, it hits multiple enemies in a row, which is nice. You can use it from quite a big range away. And one of the things obviously there's multiple like heat actions, or multi-hitting enemy heat actions like this. One of the nice things about both Sea Dog and Mad Dog as fighting styles is that you have a lot of mobility and you have a lot of speed and the ability to get back into a fight really quickly. This is going to be helpful because the city of Honolulu, which is in this game, is really large. So obviously, with Sea Dog style, you're going to be using your chain shot to be able to grab enemies, latch onto them, and jump across the actual stage itself. Whereas with Mad Dog style, his Charge Strong is actually Majima's good old iconic dash attack. That has a lot of distance in this. And one thing that you've seen very briefly as well is the ability to jump. There's the dash itself. But Majima himself has, like that, a whole bunch of launch attacks. So much like Yagami in Lost Judgment and Kiryu in Gaiden, you have a whole bunch of different launchers and attacks that will send the enemy skyward, and they are fantastic. Majima's Charge Light itself is a launcher, and one thing that you've probably seen in this footage is that you have the ability to jump. It is very good for getting into the sky and getting rid of that little bit of slowdown where you can't attack enemies like in the fight. Yes, the boutique is back. You have a whole bunch of cosmetics that you can knock through the game, and nicely, there's a bunch of sets, as you will see here. So if you just want to be one of Majima's classic stuff, like all the stuff from Kiwami, you've got Zombie, you've got Idol, you've got Goromi, you can easily just set that style instantly and just have it ready. Or you've got all of your wide range of actual customization, much like you would expect from Gaiden. This game is very, very much blueprinted from Gaiden. Like, that is not a bad thing. Like, there are a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of, like, customization options in here that you can unlock. I don't know if the footage is going to go over all of it. You've got a lot of extra outfits that you can get. You can get the entirety on Majima for Sugiura's outfit from Judgment. Like, that's something that I actually, like, put on during my playtest of this game. But you've got a heck of a lot of different customization options. You can even customize the tiger. It's adorable. It is fantastic. But there's going to be a lot of, like, unlockable different cosmetic options as well. There is a lot in this game. You can even make Majima look exactly like he does in Yakuza 0. Like, you've got a lot of customization. It's great. Speaking of customization, one thing I don't think any of the footage is going to go over. You all know what I'm like. I love my menus. The first thing I did in this game was go in my menus and have a look at everything. There is an equipment system in this game with rings. These rings, you can have up to 10 rings equipped on all of your different fingers. Now, some of your fingers, the little fingers and the thumbs, they will all have like different rings that you can only equip to those specific fingers. So there's a lot of different bits of like, obviously like equipment customization that you can do and all the different equipment pieces that you have. We had access to some things like, if you remember the bracelet of the 4 Devas in previous Yakuza games, they're all split into like 4 different rings, and when you equip all 4 rings, you'll get a set bonus like that. It's just the usual clever stuff that RGG do with their equipment stuff, but there's a lot of it. So one other thing as well, with this footage and with the playtest that we did, the Majima that we had access to was an almost fully leveled up Majima. Interestingly enough, one of the things that we didn't have a full level up for was his attack. Weirdly enough. So you're seeing quite a bit of like the damage that you will do, but just a tiny bit more because of like a little bit of like different equipment and a little bit of extra like upgrades and stuff. But yeah, we had access to like an almost full Majima, and there's 2 very interesting differences. By the way, you can go into first person with your chain hook and actually grab like salmon, fish, bugs, and a little other exploration thing that you'll see in a second here that I saw when I was playing the game on the playtest that was absolutely fantastic, and it's going to add a lot of exploration options. But essentially, with Mad Dog, you have his R1 triangle counter, much like it is in his Legend style in Zero and also in Majima Saga. But here, it's really strong feeling. It feels like the window is a little bit extended, which is nice. But the interesting one is Sea Dog. Whereas you have your R1 triangle counter for Mad Dog style, which is what you're seeing here, Sea Dog actually has a lot of stuff that plays around with guarding. So if you can perfect guard at the right time, you can actually follow that up with a nice combo from your actual blade and your cuts. Like, I think I saw in total about 3 or 4 different, like, counter options from perfect guarding at the correct time. It's going to make it so that both Sea Dog and Mad Dog play very differently, and it's going to be, again, very similar to Gaiden, in that if you remember how Gaiden felt with Kiryu with his normal Yakuza style, and then obviously his, like, more gadget-based, like, agent style, it's kind of similar to that with Majima, with Sea Dog and Mad Dog, but Sea Dog feels a lot more combat orientated and less gimmicky, even though, you know, you have the cutlasses and the guns. And look at this. You can use your chain hook to go up to high places. And yes, this is the same in Honolulu. Now, I didn't manage to get myself to Honolulu in the time that I had with the game, but I do have a bit of footage to be able to explain the Honolulu stuff. And you can see that all the treasure you find gets you money, and it also gets you points. You'll see in the top right that your rank as a pirate is increasing, which is going to get you access to more rewards and stuff like that. There is a full completion list, I believe, in this game. I didn't go over it fully, but yes, the usual Yakuza stuff is here. It's fantastic. And the game looks absolutely gorgeous, and you'll see that a bunch coming up when we get onto the boat. It was around about this point when I got to this point in, like, doing the playtest of this, that I said to myself, alright, it is time to go over to the actual boat. So you'll see in a second, we're going to go over to the boat, and you'll see a little bit of the ship exploration, and also, importantly, the combat. But the strong enemies are interesting. I'm fairly confident there is one strong enemy that I fought at one of the new locations, Madlantis, that literally stole some of Amon's moves. So, good old RGG and loving their, like moveset reuse. Like, I've definitely fought an NPC that has Amon's backflip and, like, one of his, like, normal combos. So, that's fantastic. But also, one of the things I did while I was here was, not at this place, but a different place, eating out. So you could obviously eat gauge charges up faster attacks, do more damage. If I remember rightly, I might be wrong on this. If I remember rightly, there is a system at play in this game where the more drunk you are, the more your attack power raises. I'm fairly certain I saw that very briefly when I was playing this in the playtest. And there is an upgrade tree, or not an upgrade tree, there is an upgrade that you can get for Majima that allows him to craft beer. One thing that's not been shown in this footage that I did personally was I did a cooking minigame. There's like a cooking minigame that you can do near the start of where we were at Rich Island, where you can make a whole bunch of different food. There is a lot of different food in this game, by the way. And they'll all do different things like restore your HP, restore your heat, your madness gauge, make you drunk so that you can get more attack damage, etc., etc. As you can see here, obviously you're getting a whole bunch of ingredients. The ingredient system from LAD is back, which honestly I'm really happy about. On the boat itself, there are different planters where you can plant seeds, and then you have your usual stamina and sparks and stuff. As you can see, much like with Infinite Wealth, this game has a little bit of a blueprint from Infinite Wealth as well, where you can give animals, obviously, their pet food and stuff like that. However, there is also a system, much like Gaiden with the Colosseum, or the castle, I should say, where you can actually give your shipmates in this game different gifts and stuff to raise their EXP and their happiness and stuff like that. Kind of similar to, very similar to Gaiden. You'll see it in a little bit here. We're also going to go onto the boat itself. This boat is fantastic. It has a full karaoke system. That's all you need to know. There's obviously a lot more to the boat. You can actually lower the side of the boat and go fishing. Like, using the chain hook, obviously. But, yep, you can see here, you've got a whole bunch of different shipmates on the ship. There are multiple different ways to get down into the deck. Some famous, I should say, familiar faces if you play Gaiden. That was homeless Yamanaka. There are some very, very, very good shipmate names in this. I think one bit of the footage that you'll see in a bit has one of IGG's usual really funny localizations where a certain ship member is named after a famous American actress. And you can see you can start a party. So, boost the crew's morale. If you know about Gaiden with the champagne you can pop at the back, where everyone is there, then it's very similar to that. You can also start a feast downstairs with selected members, which you can select, and that will also increase their EXP as well. Again, have a look at the group here, see if you can recognize anybody. There's one guy on the right you should recognize if you played Yakuza 4. Very excited for my boy to be back. Good old Minami. So, as you can see, round goes up. So, one important thing about this is that you saw that you had two squads there. You have a squad on the boat and you have a boarding squad. These are going to be very important going forward. You can see on the left-hand side, that's where your karaoke station is. And this is downstairs here. This is also where you can start to obviously get to know your crewmates. They all hang out. It's, again, very, very similar to Gaiden in terms of, like, you know, you've got first mate traits, squad leader traits. You can give them gifts. Gets their EXP up, makes them a little bit more effective. It's very much like Gaiden. They all go up to, I believe, level 40. They're all got, like, their own, like different, like, stats and stuff in terms of, like, what they're good at in terms of, like, you know, path of the ship. You got a changing boutique down the bottom as well, which is really nice. But at this point, I think it's time to go and show you some of the actual ship exploration and combat. So you go up to the wheel. There's your nets at the back. The nets at the back as well allow you to get items as well. And let's go and do a little bit of this ship exploration, shall we? You can see you've got a bunch of different options here. Like, you've got different maps that you can pick from. If you look at this map real quickly, you'll notice that there are little lighthouses. We'll talk about those in a second. There's little treasure maps. But one thing you can do is change your formation, your equipment. You can upgrade your ship. We'll see that in a second here, so let's go and get that fully set off, shall we? After having picked a map to traverse, of which there were multiple maps for us to choose from, I chose the one that would lead us to the new area, Atlantis. You can see this is us driving around on our boat, and yes, if you see at the top left, there is a free of free. You can boost on your boat. These little rings as well will also get you a bit faster. The lighthouse there is important. Those are fast travel points. So once you've gone to a lighthouse, you can just then pick up exploring from wherever you want. If you look at the bottom right, you'll see that breakers turned into drift. Yes, you can drift the boat. Fantastic fun. There's also items, like, on the floor as well. Not only is there, obviously, the nets that you can set up to be able to, like, pick up items as you go around. Here's your menu. You can see a little bit here, the equipment. Different types of cannons. Yes, that is a shark cannon. Yep. Obviously, it all costs money to upgrade. So you'll be spending a lot of money in this part, upgrading your ship. The gold weapons as well aren't just for show. They actually do extra damage. And yes, there's a rocket launcher as well. And you can see here a big list of some of the upgrades that you can get for your actual ship. Boarding squad should be pretty obvious in that that's the group that's going to jump with you over to boarding enemy ships or going ashore, which you will see in a little bit as well. So a lot of what you'll be doing in terms of your money is going to be going towards your ship. And of course, you can upgrade your ship's appearance. Much like Majima himself, there is an entire boutique of things that you can select. Like, you are going to be able to make a lot of different customization options. I'm not putting a shark head on the front of my ship because I'm terrified of sharks. Probably wondering why I'm playing a game with sharks. And yes, that was the Kamurocho gate as a side piece for your ship. It was very funny when I found that in the actual playtest and put that one on myself. Much like Gaiden and much like your boutique customization, you can do multiple presets. So if you just want to have, like, multiple presets that you can just swap to on the fly, you can just do that at any time. It's genuinely really nice. There are a lot of options. Including a flying Majima on the front of your ship, which is, I mean, it's a Majima thing to do, let's be honest. Yes, there is a symbol of the Grand as well. There's a lot of nice little references to prior Yakuza stuff. So, this is the map that is going towards Atlantis. You can see at the very top the purple circle, which is your usual, hey, this is the next area. And up ahead, you can see some enemies. So, let's get into the actual combat. And well, there's a couple of things like here and there. You'll see very, very, very faintly, you see it a bit more when you fire, there is a crosshair. Front of the ship, you see there's a little dot in the middle. When you are aiming at a ship in the middle of that crosshair, you are going to hit the enemy. You're also going to get to see a whole bunch of the rain effects. Now, you can see on L2, R2 are two different sides of the ship. On the right-hand side is, I believe, the flamethrowers, on the left is cannons. So, as you can see, when you get close to the enemy, the circle lights up, and there is also a sound effect indicator that tells you that you can activate your cannons. Also, you can just get off yourself and just, take aim if you really want to. If you don't feel like your crew is doing that good of a job, or you just want to get a little bit of hands on yourself. As you can see, and this is one of the things that I was most impressed about when playing this, ship combat is fast. And this isn't, as you saw, a ship that's been massively, massively upgraded. Ship combat is very fast. There are some stronger, like, enemies out there, and you can go up to the mast. The nice thing is, yes, you can use your good old vision to be able to look ahead, see where things are, and you'll see that the weather here has gone really foul. This is actually not just a visual thing. This is massively important. You can get struck by lightning and take damage. There are whirlpools. If you drive into the whirlpool, unless you get out of the middle of it, you will start to take continual damage. So, one thing that Majima saw when looking around with his telescope was the good old Baja Island. Aptly named. So, here's the good old boost. And again, you can upgrade the amount of boosts that you get, obviously, from upgrades. Heading, I believe, over to Baja Island, which is something that I did myself. I went and had a look at a couple of the islands that you can drop off at. And actually, there's a cool amount of difference in what you can do in certain islands. So, certain islands are going to have different objectives. They're all pretty much going to have treasure or equipment on it that you can get. And as you can see, top, defeat all the pirates and get the treasure. Simple as that, right? And yes, the ethereal stuff is in this game as well. And as you can see, you can bring up to 4 crew members to fight alongside you. You can pick and choose who to bring with you. And yes, the person there in the 3rd slot was indeed a good old friend of ours. You can see a lot of our folks here. There's Nickel Kidman. You can see Obispo as well from obviously LAD, from Infinite Wealth. Even you saw, I believe his name is Oka from Infinite Wealth, who gives you the Street Surfer. The Street Surfer is available in this game. Extraction begins. Sometimes it'll be a big map. Sometimes it'll be a little objective like this. A 100-person fight. So here you get to see a little bit more of our really cool new combat. This is using the cutlasses. So one thing I didn't mention with Sea Dog and using cutlasses is that the light charge for the cutlass throws the cutlasses out. That's a use of your chain hook right there to get back into the fight a little bit quicker. And as you can see, you can use your chain hook to grab an enemy and drag them down and slam them on the ground, very similarly to the wire in Gaiden. If you think of the wire in Gaiden, but think of the reverse of how it's used, that's pretty much how the chain hook goes. Like, the chain hook drags you straight over and back into the fight like that. It is super fast and it's super fun. You obviously have your good old Mad Dog style as well, where you can obviously, like, charge, you can, like, launch enemies into the air and everything like that. And as you can see in this 100-person battle, every so often there are going to be stronger enemies that come in. But as you can see, like, you can kind of get the vibe of what I was saying earlier about how this game is very, like, Gaiden-based in its blueprint, in that obviously all of your different, like, crew members that you can get during obviously, like, the game itself, you can take with you to all of these different islands. You can obviously, like, level them up, and the higher level they are, the stronger they'll get, etc. I have no doubt, and obviously I've not seen anything like this, so this is pure, like, conjecture and speculation. If it's anything like Gaiden, where you obviously had a fight in the castle, the Colosseum of the castle, with Robot Amon, I have a suspicion that they're obviously going to utilize a lot of the same kind of principle in this game, where you're probably going to have a pirate ship fight against Amon, and then the proper Amon fight itself, because as you'll see a bit later, you can actually do fights on pirate ships themselves. Now, one thing you saw there in the footage, very briefly, you heard that little sound effect there. If you watch over Majima's head a lot, because in this game you have a lot of enemies that have, you know, cutlasses, different types of firearms and stuff like that, Majima has a slight little bit of spidey sense above his head. You will see a little marker that is going to tell you when you're about to get shot. It's a nice little indicator because of the fact that you can have a lot of enemies that will actually hit you. Sometimes you won't get it, and sometimes you'll. There it is right there. And it gives you just a tiny little bit of time to be able to react to it. Now, in the playtest, most of this was on standard difficulty. There are the usual it is the usual like a Dragon game where you can change difficulty at any time. You can go up in the options menu to go up to a harder difficulty, obviously. But a lot of this is on standard, and even though obviously we're a slightly stronger management with like equipment, we're still getting bullied in this village. We're still getting bullied quite efficiently. Now, we saw earlier there was with Mad Dog Management, his Madness Gauge, which is at the top left, his R2. That led to the Doppelgangers. Sea Dog Management is very, very different. Now, I imagine that these will be unlocked as you play through the game, but Management has access to 4 dark instruments. These instruments, right there, allow you to do summons. This one is one of my favorites, and I think it's going to be one of your favorites too. The Dark God of the Earth, Curse of the Sadistic Ape. This guy juggles enemies. Like, not only does he have Kiryu's good old, like, punching flurry from his good old Yakuza 6, he's got Yakuza 6 and his Infinite Wealth R2, but he can launch and juggle enemies. But there are 4 different animals in total, and they all have their different uses. As you can see, with Management and jumping as well, you can just go straight into like a diving down attack, or you can do like a strong attack. And yes, enemies have shields. Enemies in this game have shields, and those shields can be frustrating. You have to get behind the enemy to be able to do damage, or at least break their kind of guard so that you can actually get behind them. It makes a nice difference. But you'll see a lot in like a lot of different combat, and I wish I was able to like capture my footage. This was the point where I was starting to finally get into, like, combining jumps in the middle of my combos. You can see there that with Mad Dog, when you do a dodge like that, yeah, it's tiny little bit of slow down. It gives you a little bit of an advantage. And look at how good this combat is. Just jumping between the 2 different styles in just any point in the combo you want. Like, this is something that RGG have allowed you to do since Lost Judgment. Judgment, you could only do it at the apex of your strong attack. But in Lost Judgment, they started from there, allowing you to change your style at any point. You can see that even if your party members go down whilst on the exploration, they will still get EXP. And you get a funny little cutscene at the end when you find your treasure. Every little bit of treasure also has its own little lore behind it, its own little bit of descriptions, you know, nicely spruced up by the wonderful localization in this game. And you can see you get points. And yes, you have a pirate rank as well. That pirate rank goes into a couple of different things like rewards and stuff, but there are also NPCs who will join your pirate ship, but only when you are a certain rank. So by doing a whole bunch of the different side stuff, you'll raise your rank, you'll be able to get stronger, obviously, party members, etc., etc. You saw a little bit of a typhoon to the right there. I didn't go near a typhoon when my playtest was going on because I didn't actually see what was happening. But I have heard tell that you will be able to fight potentially giant squids in this game. I'm looking forward to seeing how that happens. Now, you might be thinking at the moment that a lot of these enemies are somewhat easy to take care of. This is a very early level, and that is your use of your rocket launcher. It's as fun as you could probably expect. And again, as you can see how fast here the actual ship combat is going. Like, you can just get super up close. As soon as, like, you get that, like, little confirmation or the enemy are in front of you and you can shoot them, you just take them out really quickly. Now, this is an early game area. So bear that in mind if you're thinking, oh, the ship combat looks, like, pretty easy, etc. It is an early game area. It is going to get harder. You'll see in a little bit that there is stronger enemies. As part of the actual story, again, much like Gaiden, there is going to be a ship fight. So how Gaiden introduced all of its mechanics to you, like with the castle, it's going to do the same here when we eventually get to Madlantis, and there's going to be a nice ship fight. All of this like weather effects, really good looking. Again, it's more than just looks. Like the actual lightning can hit your boat. You obviously can get sucked into whirlpools and stuff like that. But as you go past like these little lighthouses, you'll see the actual like fast travel will, as you can see, open up there. So now, if you were to leave this area and then come back, you can just start exactly from there. There are also merchant ships that you can see sometimes they as a warp point. There are also merchant ships that you can see as you go by, and you can now, like, you know, change everything up. So you can change up your appearance, you can go and, like, obviously make your upgrades and stuff like that. Quick and simple like that. Should be said, I haven't mentioned it just yet, the playtest that we did was on PS5. It stayed at a very, very stable 60 FPS the entire time through. 0 FPS drops. Absolutely beautiful. Really good RGG music, as you can expect. If you look at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see like a different couple of icons. One of those is a repair icon, so when your ship actually gets damaged in the middle of combat, you can repair your ship. You also have, obviously, the rocket launcher for using the rocket launcher. So you're finding a whole bunch of components and stuff that will be used at Julie's Gear Works later on. See that we're getting close now to the story area Madlantis. I won't share any of the story components because I want this to be as spoiler-free as possible. I obviously myself didn't want to see too much story stuff, because I want to leave that until I play it on stream. But you'll see in a second here the actual one of the new areas, Madlantis. Supposedly, you can also go to good old Nele Island from Infinite Wealth. That was, like, said to us that that's actually somewhere where we can go, but didn't get the chance to get that far in our playtest. So I don't know if that's, like, just not unlocked yet, or if that's, like, later on. This is still only Chapter 2. Everything that you will see in this footage is Chapter 2, so it's very, very early on. But taking charge of the ship is very easy, like, and it's very quick. Like, the nice thing about the ship combat is that it's a lot faster than I was genuinely expecting it to be, in a good way. And, like, obviously we're on a little bit of a stronger pirate ship in the playtest than we'll probably have at this point. But the ship itself is massively responsive, very, very fast, and combat is fun. So, welcome to Madlantis. As you can see, this is a brand new area for Pirate Yakuza. It is a den where pirates hang out and chill. You can see on the minimap, there is actually, like, a lot to do. There's a couple of different routes that you can take along as well. You've also got a couple of good old minigames. Here's Olf, or as we can more know it, Golf. You've got a good couple of food places and a couple of little arcades. And yes, you can see there the icon is from taking pictures, much like Infinite Wealth. You get rewards for taking pictures and stuff. And yes, there are enemies at Madlantis. You can see that these enemies are slightly stronger. We've got some of the larger lads that you're probably used to. And yes, Goro gets involved in the fights too. And I'm not talking Goro Majima. The little tiger himself, he can actually help out. And one of the nice things from Lost Judgment that is carried over to this from Lost Judgment and Gaiden is the fact that obviously items, money, etc., they get given to you automatically at the end of a fight. This is something that is I found really nice in the vast majority of the action games from RGG recently, because there's no downtime at the end of a fight having to run around, collect items and stuff like that. It's just a really nice quality of life thing, just allow you to carry on. So you'll see this is the Queen's Castle over here. This is where there's obviously going to be a little bit of like story stuff later on. Again, not going to talk about story stuff. Like, we'll be going around like the majority of Atlantis. There is a stronger enemy here. The one that I mentioned earlier with Amon's potential moveset that you will see, but I don't think in this footage you'll get to see him do much, unfortunately. That's the guy that I juggled with the monkey. It was very, very fun.
What's that like?
But you've got a good couple of food places just littered here and there. A whole bunch of NPCs. A couple of like NPCs around here as well when you meet the requirements will actually join you. And as you can see, the briefcases are back. So the briefcases from LED and Infinite Wealth that have little randomized items in them are back. They can contain like components, like little use items, etc. And you'll see that Douglas down there is a little bit of a stronger enemy, which is nice. So you've got your usual like normal enemies, and you've got like actual stronger enemies themselves. But as you can see, Sea Dog and Mad Dog as styles are both very, very fast. There isn't one style from what I played in about 3 hours of this game that I would say is like, you know, out and out better than the other one. Like with Judgment, you can make a strong compelling argument for OG Judgment that Tiger is ridiculously overpowered. So there's the throwing of the Cutlass Boomerang right there. When you throw the Cutlass Boomerang out, you can just do a normal combo with Majima's punches. It's a nice little way to kind of mix things up again, even in Sea Dog style. But the nice thing is, neither Mad Dog nor Sea Dog feel particularly like overpowered more than one or the other. And Sea Dog doesn't feel quite as gimmicky, say, as Agent does in Gaiden. I really like Agent style in Gaiden. If you've seen any Gaiden speedrun, you know that a lot of it devolves into good old, and thankfully there is fast travel here as well, much like the castle. Unfortunately, like, Gaiden devolves a lot into go into EX mode and throw your cigarette out. Thankfully, from my playtesting of this so far, both styles have their own uniqueness to it. Like, doppelgangers are fast, and especially if you're in a one-on-one fight, can help stun lock an enemy down. Although for stronger boss-like enemies like the wanted list enemies that you've seen earlier, some of them won't get stun locked quite as much. One where you can get stuff for, obviously, your ship. And, as you can see at the bottom, the Border Break soundtracks are back. So that should let you know that the soundtrack CDs are back. Yes, that's anime. It's a pleasure. Yes, you can make your ship complete anime. Thumbs up. But yeah, the soundtrack CDs are back as well, so you can use those, I want to say, on the ship as you're sailing around. I might be wrong on that, but you can at least get the soundtrack CDs and you can use them and listen to music again, much like you can in, obviously, LAD and Infinite Wealth. But so far, that chain hook right there is some of the most fun, some of the most actual fun, like, in this game that I have played so far. The chain hook allowing you to just get back into a fight. You can literally chain a dash strong from Mad Dog style, go past an enemy back into combat, change to Sea Dog, hook over, and you can go from literally like one side of the fight arena to the other in like 3 seconds. Like, you really can. Like, both of your styles allow you to close the distance a ridiculous amount. You can see the UFO catcher there. There are some nice pirate-themed UFO prizes now, which is really good. And you can see there's a whole bunch of your different mini-games and stuff here. The guy on the right, you saw the icon above his head. That's someone that can join you, depending on if you meet the requirements. Some people require money. Some might want, you know, pirate renown. Some might want sim equipment stuff. The usual. The one that you actually ran past on the left there wants a certain pirate rank. I know because I actually got her when we were playing earlier. And the place is really gorgeous. It's kind of like how it's your more neon light kind of red light-ish district like Kamurocho is. Like with obviously Honolulu, like that doesn't have like a huge amount of like neon lights and stuff like that. Yes, Chicken Man is there as well. Chicken Man was there to our left. There he is, good old Chicken Man. He was very strong. The boys, Nishida and Minami. And, as said earlier, you can start a feast. So, while you're in safe areas, you can start a feast. Meal for 5, gives them a bunch of experience. You choose, obviously, the people that you want to turn up. Kason is obviously there. You can see a bunch of the Judgment Boys are still here. Like, you've got a good amount of crew members that you can actually pick from to be able to go, yes, Nick Elkin. I love Nick Elkin, man. I lost everything when I saw that when I was doing the playtest. So you can see a whole bunch of different ones. Yes, she's there as a... If it wasn't in the actual footage earlier, yes, you can dress up like Etsuko. Game good. Game very good. As you can see, this is a good way to get your crewmates experience up a big chunk, because obviously everyone is quite near to their, like, upper levels. A lot of experience isn't going to come from this. And yes, karaoke. This is your list of karaoke songs in the game. There are a lot. You all know. You all know the one that I did. You all know. You all know I'm a massive Dead Souls fan. I am someone that does like Yakuza Dead Souls, and it is very nice that God Get to the Top has actually made it to this game. I was wondering if it would or not.
笑いとだけん土下座行き交う日常繰り返しやでどう手つけたような言い訳じゃ言い訳ばっかりじゃ何もかれんバホかボケ残業徹夜犠牲書いいぞ取り潰しや夢に見てるのが年季あかんやろもっと夢もたんかいドリームや頭大方誰かが決めてるぶっ壊したるで今日からトレイヤでもうこれすげえよいつものドライバーへ路面許しと明日へトレイヤで目の前には輝く再燃源夢のがあるね走りどうすで昨日より10高い場所へ流れやゲスだった楽しくなってきたな
Love that song. As you'll see, like a lot of the older songs from the older games, like obviously Get to the Top from Dead Souls, all of them look fantastic in the Dragon Engine. All of them look absolutely fantastic in the Dragon Engine. Like, alright, that a little bit more of Madlantis to carry on. Check out our crew. Again, whole bunch of different crew members down here. A lot that you'll see from, obviously, like, Gaiden. Like, if you've obviously, like, played Gaiden, you'll recognize a lot of these. There's a lot of nice little, like, you know, callbacks to Infinite Wealth as well in here, which is good. And you can cook on your ship. So, as said earlier, there are a lot of different things you can cook. Some of these things are locked until later. You require like a higher chef level to make them. When you raise the amount of that item that you want to cook, it raises the difficulty because you obviously have to prep it more. You can use any of your ingredients to make, obviously, the actual food itself, and you'll get the expected result at the bottom right. So, I love if you do it on the ship. You do have your crew watching over you as you do this. A couple of mini games. Hold X to be able to hit it. There is a tiny little bit of a delay in stopping this. Just remember that for when you play it, because that caught me by surprise. Raises the stars up a little bit. And prep the ingredients. So if you've seen most of this game, most of the series is like, you know, little like QTEs. Yep, it's the same. Look at Goro up there. Look at Goro on the fridge freezer at the top left. Look at that. That's a cute tiger. I love how the actual like ingredients are also just rising on the side as well. With that, that's a nice hearty 3-star stew. So you might be wondering, let's give them a scum. You might be wondering, what is the difference in obviously like the different stars for your food? The different stars change how much they recover depending on what the effect of the food is supposed to be. So if you have a 1-star meal, it won't do as much as, say, like obviously a 2-star meal or a 3-star meal. You have your good old boutique down here on the ship that you can utilize at any point. The outfit. So colored contacts, some nice piercings, and again, a lot of different hair options. Yes, the ponytail from Zero is in this if you want said ponytail. Also, I'm not sure if... I don't think they were, but there's a couple of shirts in this game that are very much modeled off of some of the places in Honolulu itself. So I think there's some of those you'll be able to go... If I remember rightly, you'll be able to go to the shops themselves and get them from those shops, which is really nice. Love the eye patch. Love the eye patch. I'm not sure if this is like the entire list of cosmetics, by the way. There might be some hidden ones out there somewhere, but the ones that are locked in the list, you can actually like go over the actual locked item itself, and the game will tell you the unlock requirements for the piece of equipment or the actual costume itself on that menu. Gonna make it very nice for like completion folks like me who like to get everything. It's obviously be able to find everything. So one thing that is not seen here is obviously Honolulu. I didn't make it to Honolulu when I was playing the game. However, this game does carry on the tradition from Gaiden of the new Model 3 stuff, which is really fantastic. Daytona is back again, but you also have a brand new game in the Ocean Hunter, which if you've seen Yakuza 6's or played Yakuza 6's fishing minigame, spearfishing even, it's very similar to that. You can see there's a couple of bigger skulls on this map, which I'm not actually quite sure what those are. They're obviously like stronger enemies, or maybe those squids. And yep, there's your anime. And you can also purchase your different colors from here as well. You can see at the top, obtain from Ganryu Armory, for example. Have the nice biker gang style sales. Like, you can do a lot of customization of this game. It is honestly genuinely fantastic. Like, I've really enjoyed my time with this playtest, and I hope you've enjoyed watching this little bit of footage as well. So, I'm going to leave you with that for all the footage that I had with my hands-on time with Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza. For me, the combat feels fast and it feels really fluid. It's nice and simple to get into. Majima has a lot of depth to both his styles, which is really nice. All fun to play. The ship stuff took me by surprise because I wasn't quite sure if it'd be like a bit more similar to kind of like how like Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise worked with stuff, but genuinely the ship combat stuff is surprisingly quick. You didn't get to see it here, but with some of the stuff in Madlantis, what you can do, similar to the castle in Gaiden, is you can have ship battles, and then at the end of your ship battles, you can board the enemy ship itself, obviously with your boarding crew, similar to the boarding crew that you would take off to like some of your other islands. You can pick and choose who you want on your boarding crew out of like all of your crew members, for example, and you can just go and have fun. Like, you can just go and have fun. There's a lot of side content that didn't get covered in my preview that you'll be able to see in others' previews, and also the game yourself. Whilst I was away in America for GDQ, there was a Like a Dragon Direct, or an RGG Direct, I should say, which contained a lot of information for Pirate Yakuza. I personally didn't see it at the time because obviously I was busy in America, very, very, very busy. So I didn't get to see that until I was back, and I intentionally waited until after the event itself so that I could give you my kind of thoughts and feelings towards the game before I looked at that direct. But that direct will also give you a much more concise look at the game without this British dude waffling on over the top of it. So for me personally, I really like both Mad Dog. Mad Dog style feels very, very nice. It feels like a very, very big evolution of obviously the Majima Saga stuff from K2, because there wasn't that much to Majima style there at all. There was just like the basic combos and spin on circle and the R1 triangle like counter. But all the stuff that you've got for Mad Dog here, the dash, the launcher that you can do it multiple times like during your combo, and jumping. I barely even began to scratch the surface of the jumping. Jumping is really nice. Like, if you've ever had those like little weird moments where you've launched the enemy into the sky and then you've not been able to do anything, those are pretty much gone. Like, being able to jump into the sky, launching enemies, and then being able to just like take them down with combos like whilst in the sky is beautiful. Like, genuinely beautiful. It doesn't feel too clunky, which is good. Like, I had a bit of a fear it'd feel a bit like Yagami's kind of L1 X jump in Lost Judgment, in that you kind of just go up and then you kind of go down, but you can properly combo there, like depending on obviously like Mad Dog style, Sea Dog style, with obviously the chain hook and stuff like that. Like with the gun, you can like keep yourself in the air for a second by charging a shot up, like you can do a diving down attack. There's a lot of different options that the jump can do to your combo. They're actually kind of nice. It's going to be interesting. A lot of the majority of the time, your combos will still be like very much ground-based. The game isn't going to just like suddenly turn to, you know, you kicking enemies up into the sky and being like, you know, all anime launcher. But it's really nice as like a little piece of extra depth to the combo. Like, it's just something that gives you more options to be able to take care of enemies and get rid of a little bit of that, like, kind of weird slowdown of just, you know, oh, I've knocked an enemy into the air. There's not much I can do. Like, you can then start just chaining enemies. You can even stay on the ground, grab them and just slam into the ground with the chain hook in Sea Dog if you want. There's a lot of really cool aspects to the combat in this game that I really like. And as you can probably guess from Majima himself, he's fast. Very fast, very fluid, and he's very good fun. Very, very good fun. So, very much enjoyed my time with this game. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to RGGStudios, Sega and HelloGuillotine for inviting me to, obviously, this hands-on event. I think that's the very first hands-on event I've ever been, like, a part of, and I'm super proud to have been a part of it. I hope you're all excited. Obviously, I'm a little biased in this, but I feel like you should pre-order Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza. I've been playing these games since the PS2, and genuinely, every single title is at least, like, trying to, like make new iterations without changing the fundamentals of what came before it, especially the action games, and just everything here, when you're playing as Majima, it feels like a Majima game. It doesn't feel like, even though a lot of the blueprints of the game, like the upgrade styles and like the two different styles for the fighting styles itself, obviously like the gadgets and stuff, like equating to kind of like the Sea Dog, like cutlass pistol and like chain shot stuff and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't just feel like a Gaiden reskin. Like, the combat feels like they looked at Majima and went, all right, Majima needs to be quick to get into a fight. He needs to be able to basically demolish enemies. A lot of what you didn't see in the footage there as well is that a lot of fights have a lot of enemies inside of them as well. Majima does an exceptionally good job at just taking care of multiple enemies, like without having something overpowered, like say the cigarette launcher Firefly in Gaiden. So that's the nice thing that I really like about the combat. The combat, for me, I need to spend a little more time with it, because obviously like a couple of hours isn't enough time to like really get the intricacies of everything. I really like it. It feels like there's a good bunch of depth to it. For the fun combo makers out there, I think you're going to be able to make some really cool, stylish things. For those of you who just like to mess around with stuff as well, you've got like obviously the different summons, like obviously the giant monkey that allows you to also juggle enemies. You've got obviously, you know, the doppelgangers, which I think are going to be quite strong. Excuse me. Those doppelgangers were very, very strong. I used those in a fight with like 5 enemies, and all the doppelgangers just went off after all the different enemies, and it's like, yep. And it's also kind of nice to have like a visual indicator above Majima's head for like when you're about to get shot as well, because like there are a lot of enemies, and these enemies are kind of frustrating at times, but it's very nice to be able to have like an indicator to warn you of like the immediate danger. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time. I was very pleasantly surprised by the ship stuff. The ship felt fast. It felt very responsive. Battles were very fast and very much as soon as you pick up the controller, you know exactly what you're doing. Like, as soon as you get into like the actual ship combat itself, you hear the ding of, oh, I'm in range of an enemy for my cannons. You can just use it. Like, there's a lot of like small little things like that is in the actual ship exploration and combat that just make it a nice breeze and fun to play. Like, it doesn't feel like a chore. You can drift the boat. Boat drifting's fun. So yeah, it's fun. I really, really have enjoyed my time with the game. And I hope you will also be enjoying your time with the game. Like Dragon Pirate Yakuza is going to be releasing on February 21st now, if you missed the announcement. Got brought forward a week for reasons. But I hope you're enjoying it. It will be coming to most systems near you. Obviously PC, PS5, Series X, and I want to say it's also on the previous generation as well. I might be wrong with that, but it's definitely on at least PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. I hope you've enjoyed this hands-on preview as much as I've enjoyed my time with the game. Obviously, I haven't been able to, you know, share all of my thoughts, and there's a couple of thoughts that I want to leave until the full release for you to be able to explore and find out yourself. So, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you are looking forward to the release of Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.